Well, as we've mentioned, the 11th annual AGOA Forum is underway here in Washington. Joining us now to discuss a new partnership agreement the Obama administration has made with Sub-Saharan Africa is VOA State Department correspondent Scott Stearns. Scott, welcome to In Focus again.
Thanks.
Now, this new U.S.-Africa policy, really, what's new about it?
For viewers of your program who follow Africa on a daily basis, there'll be little new in it. To my mind, it codifies the Obama administration's approach to Africa since President Obama's speech to the parliament in Ghana in 2009. Again, focusing on good governance, this policy directive talks about continuing to support civil society groups that support the rule of law and human rights, as well as standing against African leaders who, in the phraseology of the directive, are contrary to democratic processes. Laurent Gbagbo would be first on that list, but also perhaps the coup leaders in Mali. It sends a signal that the United States will continue to pursue those more aggressive policies.
Yeah, and indeed, it did say that it builds upon numerous accomplishments in Africa. You did mention Ivory Coast. What are the other areas in Africa where you can say there have been accomplishments which can be credited to the U.S. efforts?
Well, the Obama administration believes that among its accomplishments are helping to bring peace in Sudan with a comprehensive peace agreement and the referendum in southern Sudan, plus the work that Princeton Lyman is doing now to try to work out the remaining differences in the CPA. It considers an accomplishment its work with the African Union on trying to bring stability to Somalia and working with AGOA both on the questions of Mali and Guinea-Bissau.
Yeah. Now, most of this sound like, especially when it comes to the purpose of this policy, the wordings actually sound like something you've read before. So we would expect that the real secret is in the details. What do you know about what more would be done that is different than the past several years that have been going on?
I think what we'll see going forward, assuming that President Obama's administration continues beyond this year's election, is more work with the regional groups, African Union, SADC, AGOA, both in terms of conflict mediation and pushing forward what has always been the AFRICOM objective of having more joint military training so that those organizations as regional groupings are prepared to intervene in conflicts as regional groups, not simply individual countries.
Yes. Now, turning a little bit to AGOA, there is concern that the so-called third country fabric provision of AGOA that allows African countries to purchase fabric and yarn from other countries in order to manufacture their products to sell to the U.S. is expiring in September. Do you know whether there's a talk of extending?
Secretary Clinton spoke to that in her comments to the AGOA Forum and said that the State Department is pushing Congress hard to make sure that that is extended. But as you know, it's oftentimes difficult to get legislation through Congress in an election year. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which supports the extension, says that some U.S. manufacturers are already shifting suppliers for the third and fourth quarter to suppliers outside of Africa because of uncertainty about what will happen with this third country textile quota. It has bipartisan support in Congress. Congressmen and women who have leadership on this position say they understand the urgency, but whether it'll be done, my hope is it'll get done, but if it does, it'll be last minute.
Yes, and just quickly, the infrastructure issue is the big discussion. So once again, it's come back. What is being said about how the U.S. can partner with Africa in development of infrastructure, which is critical to trade?
The development component of this new presidential policy directive on Africa does focus specifically on physical infrastructure, roads, rail network, and information technology infrastructure, fiber optics, as a way to increase both Africa's access to global economic markets and the ability of African countries to trade with their neighbors, not just with the external markets.
Oh, Scott, thank you very much for giving us those insights. Our appreciation to Scott Stearns. He's a VOA State Department correspondent, and he did join us here in Focus today. Thank you very much, Scott.